Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and in this video, I'm going to be yelling at myself in a way, scolding myself for the mistakes that I've been making with my resources lately. I create content and I am not above making mistakes and flaws in my own resource management, and this is why I create things for you guys so you avoid it. Just to give you the background idea for this video, when I was, 13 or 14, I told my father that I wanted to make my own mistakes, that I wanted to learn from them. And he told me that that was the dumbest thing he'd ever heard. Why would you want to learn from your own mistakes when you can learn from somebody else's who's made it before you? And that was great advice, right? Like, don't make it yourself. Let somebody else make it and then learn from them. So learn from my mistakes here with my resources. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about why I'm in the situation I'm in and how much of it I'm owning as myself and how much of it I feel Capital Games is to blame. Because they are to blame for some of these things. Let's not pretend they aren't, right? Before I get into that, let's first and foremost thank my channel members. You guys are all fantastic. Thank you so much for your continued support. If you guys are interested in joining channel memberships, link in the description down below. Otherwise, smash that subscribe button, leave your likes and leave your comments. Let's get into the game here and talk about some of these resource management mistakes I am currently making in Galaxy of Heroes. All right, so credits. My credit supply has been depleted. There was a time where I would keep about 100 million credits on hand at all times. And that was really feasible for me because early on, a lot of the Galactic Legends I was chasing, a lot of the Journey Guide things, because I had an older account, a lot of those things I had at level 85 already. Like for when I farmed Sith Eternal, I needed to gear up needed to level 85 two characters, Piet and Sith Marauder. For Jedi Master Luke, it was Mon Mothma and Chupio. For, let's see, Jedi Master Kenobi, it was like Bo-Katan and, was it just maybe Commander Cody? Right? Like, I'm just going through the list in my head. Like, it's not a lot of characters, right? So, obviously, I've done some of these other farms where I didn't have as many things built or they required newer characters. So, I've been spending a lot more of my credits. And I was someone who was enjoying the benefits of, I don't have to spend as many credits, I'm going to buy mods. And so, now I'm in this position where I've had the luxury of purchasing mods for all these years. Now I need to kind of curb that a little bit because I need to save my credits to actually level up characters. Because you look just for the Resistance, I have 5 characters here, plus Rey herself. So I'm looking at about 60 million credits, because I normally say about 10 million credits per character between gear, just levels entirely, gear, the mods, ability levels, relics, all that stuff. It's about 10 million credits for characters. So, give or take, right? So, yeah, credits is something that I'm definitely running out of. And I'll say this is a 50-50 split between, like, I could be managing my raid currency better to buy more credits. But at the same time, Capital Games has not changed the credit economy in a very long time. They've not done a lot of things to make the credit economy better. And, like, when credit heist first became a thing, way back in the day, there was half as many characters as they have now, right? I mean, it was crazy how few characters there were and we still needed credit heist. So to look at the game now and see that credit heist, the amounts still haven't changed, the cadence still haven't changed from all those years ago, it's just crazy to me. So they definitely, credits, it's kind of a 50-50 split of ownership on my fault and Capital Games' fault if I was being, trying to be as honest as I can, self-aware here. All right, so mods. This one is definitely on me, right? So I have not farmed mods in like 3.5 years, and I'm running out of quality mods to put on my characters because I haven't done that. I was able to accumulate a lot of mods over the years because long before you could slice mods, right, before you could take them even to 6 dot, all you had to do was accumulate them. That was all that you could do, was just farm mods, farm mods, farm mods, and that was it, right? So now that you could, start slicing mods, building things, it made a lot more sense for me to farm the slicing materials because I had so many mods in my inventory. And as I've gotten more Galactic Legends, built more and more of those B tier teams, I've realized that, sorry, I had an itch. I've realized though that I'm running out of these top tier mods and that I'm having to really slice, rely on my slicing to get higher quality mods. And we'll get into, how that's been affecting me. But I did want to say that mods is something that I'm struggling with. I own this one. I could be farming mods. I just have never gotten around to it because of slicing materials. And that's on me, right? So, all right, fleets. Oh my gosh, this fleet. My ship credits took a massive hit. I mean, you think we got 3 new ships like this, we got a new capital ship. I mean, I just had to invest a lot of fleet credits all at once. On top of that, I also unlocked Scythe during this time, so it was just a lot of fleet credits. And I actually think this one's just entirely on me. I feel that Capital Games has done a really good job with the fleet credit economy. I feel that they give you plenty of fleet credits. There's ways to buy mods with them, which obviously is part of the reason why I don't have that many. But also, I think that if you follow the game and play the way you're supposed to with leveling up ships as you go, I think the amount of fleet credits you get is perfectly fine. I actually think they've really nailed this one down. I think if they added any more sources of fleet credits, a lot of players would just not know what to do with it, right? Because they just add up, because ships don't come in nearly as much as characters do. So I think the fleet credit thing is fine. This one's just entirely on me. I need to own up to the fact that I just bought too many mods and I had to do too much leveling at once. And I'm bringing this up because I'm looking at having to level my resistance fleet soon as I start gearing for Ray. So there's that aspect. All right, mod slicing materials. This one is entirely my fault. So yeah, this is so bad. So obviously you guys can see that I have 6 gold mods on my Star Killer. And I had this rule for the longest time that I really didn't like to take mods above blue. That going to purple and gold to me was too many resources to expend. And that it just, to me, it wasn't worth the amount of resources I was spending to try and get a mod there. Obviously, I came around to that, that I had to get over that and realize, like, man, I do need to be spending these materials to get there. But I started running out of mod slicing materials. And in particular, this piece. This Mark II thermal exchange unit, I just completely ran out of it. And this is entirely my fault. When I would go to farm mods, I would always go and farm the nodes. Like, there was like 2 nodes that I would farm, right? I would farm this node here, and I would farm this node here. These were like the only places I'd farm. I'd never even touch this, right? I still have never touched these, but I have, plenty of them, right? But this piece in particular, right? Never touched this. And yet, came back to bite me. One day I was trying to slice up mods with these pieces, and all of a sudden, I'm getting an error that I don't have any of these, and I was like, what the heck? And I just, over the years, have purchased so many mods, have upgraded so many of them, and never farmed them that it eventually caught up to me. So, yeah, that one's completely on me. And that's why I kind of say it goes hand in hand with, mods there, that as I've tried to slice these higher and higher caliber tiers of mods, I have, created more and more problems for myself. And I thought BlueStacks was frozen there for a second. Whew, okay. All right. So, Gear 13 pieces. So this one is also a lot more on me than I would say Capital Games. And it was because of the new raid change that I was able to do this, where I was able to purchase a lot of the pieces that I needed right away. And what I mean by that is normally I would have excess pieces of these, everywhere, right? Like I'd have all this excess stuff because those raid drops from the Sith raid were random. So you wouldn't get all the stuff that you needed all the time, right? You wouldn't just get one of a certain kind of piece. Where's a good example of that? Geos actually all need good Gear 12 pieces, which is crazy to me. I never even looked at that. Yeah. How do you guys all need good Gear 12 pieces? Where's somebody who needs some of the garbage stuff? Of course, probably no one. Like this piece, right? I had plenty of these pieces. I'd always get those things, right? You'd never get these. I had plenty of this stuff, right? Like, because the raid would always drop those randomly and not drop the other stuff. But now that I'm able to pick and choose what I need, I'm running out of this Gear 13 stuff because before I was never in a position where I could keep up with one or the other, right? Where now I can kind of keep pace with each other and I'm just running out, right? So this one's, it's not even a real, I wouldn't even say this was a real problem, because it's just something that's kind of happening as a consequence of the way they changed the raid and me being able to do things faster, right? I don't have this stockpile anymore because I'm able to upgrade things immediately. So yeah, this is one, again, this is, like, hats off to Capital Games for making that change in the economy, but it is just something I've noticed with my resources that I need to be a little bit smarter on whether I'm farming things, how I'm farming them, right? That I'm not just focusing all my resources into one thing and kind of trying to build up stuff all at once, so that way I can complete characters and move on together. And then we've got Kyrotech here, right? And this is just completely because a lot of the things I'm farming now are newer and newer things that all need obscene amounts of Kyrotech, like the Inquisitors here. Kyrotechs, to me, is something that if they continue to roll out characters like they have that need 400, 500 Kyrotechs at a time, I really think they're going to need to give us a way to get more of them. Because it just is, it's a little bit crazy right now. I don't know that we're there yet, because we do get these for free, right? There are ways that these are growing. But it's where the problem is going to lie is for all the newer players coming into the game. For your veteran players, this isn't as big of a deal because we've been playing for so long and we're able to level up characters and do these things, right? Like, it just, I think if you're a newer player, Kyrotech is something you're really going to struggle with. And I think as Capital Games, if they want to continue this game to continue to succeed and have resource management available, they're going to need to alleviate that Kyrotech struggle to the vast majority of the player base who isn't in a position where they have this much stuff, right? So there's that aspect, right? And I think this is something that, again, I'm very self-aware that this is a combination of the farms I'm doing now, but a lot of this I feel is on just Capital Games kind of requiring a lot of Kyrotechs for all their newer characters and not really changing that economy in a very long time, right? That the Kyrotech economy has not, again, when I say the economy hasn't changed, that where Kyrotechs are available, what they're actually available for has not changed since it just really hasn't changed. And I think that's something that's kind of scary, right? Like, they just added it for the Cal Kestis special mission, but the amount of Kyrotechs you need to spend to be able to get there, I mean, it's crazy, right? So, yeah, there's that. And then we've got signal data. And this is primarily because of all the higher Relic levels I've been doing lately. As you guys know, I never did stuff beyond Relic 5, right? That Relic 5, unless you're a Galactic Legend requirement, I never was putting you anywhere. And I did a bunch of Relic 9s, some Relic 8s, obviously Inquisitors, all to Relic 7. I did a lot of stuff. And this has ate up all my signal data. My blue signal data, my white, my green, like all those things. I used to not, I wouldn't say I wasn't struggling, but I never had to offset them with shipment stuff. And every farm recently that I've done, I have been, farming green, farming white, and buying the blue signal data. And I mean, if there's one thing that I've preached this in my one video, if there's one thing I think Capital Games needs to own, it's the fact that the signal data economy has to, they need to do something. Because every time you release a new character and you've released new Relic levels and you haven't changed the ways that we can get this. So I think something does need to give here because, again, there's a lot of new players who sit there and they're like, oh my gosh, Phil, I don't know how I'm supposed to get all these characters out of the Cantina. And that's why I say Cantina farming isn't player friendly. Is if you're an end game player, Cantina farming is fantastic. But for the vast majority of players who need 30, 40 characters out of the Cantina and then signal data on top of it, it's just not a realistic option for a lot of them. So that's the signal data thing, right? Getting in my mind, I think there's ways to solve this. Even if it's just putting it in places for certain currencies, you need to give players a way to find what works best for them. And I think that's part of the problem. And then the last example here is just Relic salvage. And again, I think this is a combination of factors, right? I think that the Relic salvage economy is okay, right? I think it's okay. I think this is one of the more player-friendly areas because there's a lot of ways to solve this problem. Where I am noticing it for me is with the farming I'm trying to do, things I'm trying to catch up on, and the stage I'm at in the game. I'm finding myself needing to offset my Relic salvage via some of the special packs and things. And again, That's a little bit on me that I probably haven't managed this as well as I should have. But also, I think Capital Games needs to own up a little bit and admit that they really, really aren't being overly friendly with some of these prices. Like, let's just be perfectly honest here. The Carbonite circuit board price for in the raid store is, I mean, this is just like highway robbery. That is highway robbery. Same thing with like Carbonite, Carbonite circuit boards as well. That's highway robbery. It's embarrassing how expensive this stuff is. And I'm not saying it should be plentiful, that every player should have like 7,000 of them in their inventory. But we could use a little bit of offset because there's not a lot of ways to obtain that don't require players having to stop what they're doing to get there. So that's my kind of resource management. I don't know if we want to call it a crisis or just self-reflection a little bit. Again, primarily this is all just things that are my problem to deal with that I don't think are completely on Capital Games, right? Like, this is not me sitting here saying Capital Games needs to give me more of everything. A lot of this stuff is, my own fault that I haven't managed them as well. I think there's a couple things that they could do with ones that I think these two right here, Capital Games, could tweak a little bit and make more player friendly. This one I definitely think they need to do something about, but like this is completely on me, right? These ones are all right here. This is all on me. That I'm just not doing a good enough job of splitting my resources to ensure that I'm saving for things. And then credits, I kind of said that's like a 50-50 split where I think they do need to give out a little bit more stuff like credits because you're releasing these new characters with new tier levels, all these things that cost so much to get characters to higher relic levels. And you haven't changed the economy where those credits, and remember, this isn't talking for your guys who are at Arnold's level or Xerath or Sanjita or Calvin Awesome or, this is meant for players below that level, right? Who need to do all of that stuff already. So that's the video, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Like and subscribe, leave your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video. May the force be with you. Cheers.